So I think one of the most important things to have before going into residency is developing a really strict and practical financial system that you would use every single day. Keeping tabs on like your finances is really important in things like residency, especially when we're very limited with the budget and the money that we have to spend in residency. And so it becomes very important for people like residents mainly to start developing these habits very, very early on so they can ensure financial success leading on to their lives as future attendings. And so the way I kind of started thinking about this is I started thinking about creating some sort of very simple financial system template type of thing on Google Sheets that I can use pretty much every single day. We're actually just going to create it right here, plain and simple. I'm going to start off by making everything black. We have things like our capital account, which is just basically a place to keep track of where all your raw money is. We have things like our investment account, investments. We have things like our business income for those people who do side businesses. And then, of course, we have student loans. And boy, do we have a lot of that. For capital, I can put things like the name of the place where the money is stored, amount, oops, and then we're going to put last updated. So in the capital section, I have things like my checking account. In this case, I have Bank of America. I can put the amount I have in there. For this demo, we'll just put like 5,000 or so. And I also want to put when I last updated. So today is going to be June 11th, 2026. So the next thing is the investments. So I have things like ETFs that I have money saved in. I have actual stocks I have money put in, and I have other weird things that I have my money stored in, such as like Pokemon cards, which are not really good investments. And then I have things like money in my actual savings account. I'll put those as investments since those are money, those are like sort of the money that continuously grows from a day-to-day basis. So with the investments, I put things like my the actual stock I have. So in this case, for example, I have some stocks in Google, so I'll call them Google stocks. And there's a cool thing actually with Google Sheets where you can actually call the price of the stock you have. So if I have the price over here, I want to get the price of Google. I just use this command over here and I put in the stock, this ticker price, and then it'll get the amount. So that's the current amount it's trading at right now. Let's say I have 10 shares. You just do, rather this should probably be different, total, and then updated. I'm probably just going to move this over like that. Okay, so the idea is I have all my investments over here, so I can keep track of like how much money I have saved up in investments, and you can see them grow over time. Okay, business income. So in residency, you're probably going to be very busy. It's very hard to run businesses. But in some cases, there are residents who have side hustles where that's like social media, doing things like a photography business or tutoring on the side. And so this is a great place when you have all these different businesses to keep track of how much money you're actually making on a monthly basis. So in this case, it's June. I'll call this June business income. So let's say I have, tutoring company number one. I make about, $500 or so, right? $500 last updated today. Okay. And then the idea is I keep updating this as I receive more and more money for the month of June. Now, this next part's important. And the reason why is because here's basically how much money you quote unquote have right now. And it's really nice to see this right next to the amount of loans that a person might have specifically. And so with student loans, right, the way student loans work is that they're grouped into different names. So the name of the loan, for this example, I'm going to be using federal loans as an example. But for things like student loan, there's many things you can keep track of. You can keep track of the name, so the group name. You can keep track of things like the balance, principal, put things like interest, and you can keep track of the daily interest it's accruing. Okay, so I'll put in some of the loans that I have, for example. So I have this loan called, looks like Group AJ. Okay, so it's over here. So you can see this is my actual loan balance sheet from the student loan government website. So you can see that interest rate was 6.54%, and it tell you how much daily interest it's accruing on a daily basis. So I usually record these two pieces of information. So it's accruing basically $6.07 per day. Okay, and so by the end of all this, right, you can basically calculate how much balance you have in total. So let's see here. So if we do loan breakdown, right? So some people that might have certain college loans, some people might have medical school loan, etc. So I usually just kind of understand how much I have in college. It's kind of useful. So some of, like, for example, these loans, these would be your college loans, and then the rest would be your med school loans. So you can kind of see a split breakdown of what you owe for college and what you owe for medical school. The idea here is that your total loan is just going to be the sum of all the loans you have on that website, right? This is just for federal student loans. This is not counting all the private loans that exist out there. In terms of graphs and making things a little bit prettier, you can obviously change the color here. I like to put some kind of graphs just to see where all my money's coming from. So the very cool thing here is that if you just highlight these, for example, you can create a chart. And then you can kind of see how much money you're getting from different side businesses. So that's like pretty cool to have, right? Okay, so I put in a bunch of random investments over here so that I can do this. I can just take that, take this, insert chart. I want this to look like a pie chart so I can see where all my money's going. So you can kind of see where all your investments are going, right? So you can rename this to look like that. So the idea is that now whenever you log into the spreadsheet, you have this really cool looking kind of landing page where you can see where all your money is, right? That's the goal, just to see where all your money is across all different things like investments and side incomes, and as well as like looking at things in your loans. Obviously, this system is not very, very cool looking as like other websites out there, but the idea is that I want something that's very, very accessible and something that allows me to really edit things to my liking. The next thing you want to also keep track of is obviously monthly expense sheets. And so the way I do that is I just create really 3 columns again. So I have things like the income, and I don't count my business income when I'm doing my like monthly budgeting. Like, I don't use the money from my side hustles to live. All that money from my side hustle is just usually money that I put back into like the stock market or back into things like other investments. But everything that I buy that is necessary for me to live are things things that come from the resident salary itself. Income, I put my salary down. This is again after tax deduction already, and then I have all my subscriptions. So these are the recurring expenses that basically deducted from my bi-weekly expense over time. Actually, rather the better way I would actually do is put monthly resident income. So let's say it's $4,000. Okay, so things I keep track of are the subscriptions that get subtracted from my monthly expense over time. So I have things like a gym membership, costs $15 per month, for example. Health insurance, let's say, costs $100 a month. No, let's be more realistic, $150 billing month is subtracted. So I call this post-subscription income. So the way this works is I just get the total right here, take the sum of this. So that's how much I spend per month. I take this number and I subtract it by that number to get my post-subscription income. So this is discretionary income I have. Then I can even divide that down to get weekly expenditure amount. So I take this number, divide by 4. Okay, so in summary, that's basically how much I have to spend per month. The important thing I'm actually missing here is rent. Right, this is not really a realistic representation of what the monthly expense would kind of look like, but the idea is just to give you a sense of how simple and how simple I want this to be, is so that the best system in place are the ones that you actually go back into, and the one you continuously update, not something you create one time and never touch again, right? The actual financial system that I have, that I use regularly, is something that I click onto almost every single day and I update every single day. So the idea is create something that works for you, but this just gives you an idea of the simplicity, the style of the financial system that I use on a regular basis. We have a total here. You take this number, okay, and you subtract it by that number, and you take this number by 4. And that gives you how much you're allowed to spend per week, roughly speaking, okay? And so the idea here is that with your purchases, you keep track of week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Okay, again, this is for the month of June. And then you just keep track of what you're buying. So for me personally, I have a little booklet here. I've been using this since the start of this year, but it's a written book. And every single day before I go to bed, I usually just write down everything that I spent outside of my monthly subscription. So literally just today, for example, I spent, well, today I haven't really bought anything, but I spent $3 on a soda at Taco Bell, and I literally recorded $3.73, and you can see all the spending that I did so far this week. And today is Thursday, and I think so far I've only spent about $108 or so outside of subscriptions. Okay, and so probably so I record everything here, and then usually on like a weekend, like Saturday or Sunday, whenever my off day is, will be in residency, I would usually record what I spent this week. So I had a nice dinner with people. It would just be the sum of that. Okay. Then I have excess. I take this number, the weekly expenditure amount, minus how much I spent this week. And the idea is that this money is money I can put back into like my checking account, or put into my saving account for things like a rainy day, in case like your car, gets stolen, or car breaks down, things like that, right? You have money to kind of you have extra money to use in case worse comes to worse. Okay, so I didn't really talk about like what the ideal financial like I didn't really talk about like how much what you should be using your resident salary for, and how much percentage of that salary should be spent on certain things in life. But this is more so just me teaching you the concept of creating something, whether it's a physical notebook or a physical spreadsheet, an online spreadsheet, creating a place that you can come back to regularly to record your expenses. The biggest and most important habit in residency is going to be keeping track of your expenses, and keeping track of things like your loan, your investments, how much money you have at any certain given time. So getting into a good habit of just keeping track of these things is going to pay dividends when you become an attending in the future. And that's pretty much all I have today.